has Kyle and Fate. That's right. Yeah. Kyle Madson. Have you returned to the closet of 95.7 The Game?
Yeah, I sure have.
Wow.
Feels like home.
Feels like home.
That's tremendous. So it's not getting any better there, huh? They just keep throwing you in that closet.
Yeah, no chance. If anything, it's getting worse. It's fine. It's fine.
Kyle's looking around like the walls are closing in on him.
Yeah, no, it's good. This is a different closet, substantially smaller, but it's okay. They call it downsizing. I don't even work here anymore, actually. I just exist in this space. No, it's I'm sticking around. We just a little light on people with folks going away for the summer and stuff. So I'm hanging out at the station in case anybody needs help.
Yeah, I mean, you got Bonte Hill taking a world tour. You know, I mean,
it's unbelievable. Like I've never seen somebody take such a long trip in my life. My man's been gone for a month and a half. Like Warriors won a title, Bonte was gone. Haven't seen it.
I love that people can go on vacation at your building and your radio station still functions. We can't relate. We don't know what that's like.
Playing it fast and loose with the word function there.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's like Kenny's use of the word classic. He really throws the word classic around.
You really be hating on Maya's classics, though.
No, you just pick Maya's worst records and go, that was a classic.
Moving on, that's not our worst record. Are you crazy? Best of Me isn't a classic. Are you crazy?
We'll do an exercise tomorrow night. You could put your Maya record on, and we'll just gauge on crowd reaction. And I'll put my Maya record on, and we'll see how everybody reacts. Oh, now you're not as comfortable with that now.
Well, I mean, we can do it. Everybody gonna know the songs. Best of Me remix is not a classic. Oh my God,
it's fine. It's fine.
As long as we're creating space for Mac Dre.
Oh, it's in there.
You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
I was watching that video last night, man. Kyle Madson, curator of vibes over at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, host of Candlestick Chronicles, and a writer over at NinersWire.com as well. We were having this discussion earlier about the 49ers and the Raiders. The 49ers, are they do you consider them legit Super Bowl contenders?
Legit Super Bowl contenders? No, because they have a first-time starting quarterback, and getting a first-time starting quarterback to the Super Bowl is really hard. That said, I mean,
is what gives you pause.
Man, it's like, yes, they are. They should be. They're really good. Their roster's really good, and they don't need Trey Lance to be good relative to his ceiling. They just need Trey Lance to be good relative to what Jimmy Garoppolo offered last year, which is a good quarterback. Can Trey Lance be a top 15 or 16 quarterback in year one? Like, yeah, I think he can get there by the end of the year. So sure. I mean, yeah, sure. We can call him that.
Super confident selection there from Kyle.
Well, I mean, what are you calling legit? What are you calling legit Super Bowl contender? Like their roster's loaded. Their roster is freaking loaded.
And that's what I keep looking at. Like, I think their roster is really, really good. I understand the question of Trey Lance, first time quarterback, but Kenny went over these. We went through these positions a couple of. This team's really good.
So that was my whole issue last year. I say issue that it was one of my beefs last year with like the lead up to the NFC Championship game. We had several guests on our podcast who were like, "Well, I'm picking the Rams because they have a better roster." And it's like, well, they don't. Like they don't. They have a better quarterback. Mm-hmm. And if that's what puts them over the top, that's fair.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a problem there though.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah. What was Sean McVay saying yesterday? Some sort of abnormal. I mean, it was enough to like, oh, we're bringing this up. Okay, something to watch here with
I hope it doesn't, because I don't want this to happen for anybody. It sounded like Tommy John to me.
It's a game changer if there really is something wrong with Matt Stafford.
We went from the 49ers being like the third, because the Seahawks quarterback situation's abysmal right now. But we went from the Niners pretty clearly having like the second worst quarterback situation, just because it's such a question mark in the division, to like them having the best situation with Matthew Stafford possibly dealing with an abnormal elbow thing that is more like what a pitcher deals with. That's crazy. That's A, that stinks, but B, that's insane that Sean McVay said it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild to me. And then did you read about I think it was Josh Weinfuss that put out what Cliff Kingsbury said about Kyler Murray and making him call plays on the radio? And how Cliff will relay plays in sometimes, and he sees Kyler Murray like shake his head or whatever at the play call. And so Cliff gave him the radio and was like, all right, you do it, big dog. Like, you do it then. You see how easy it is. And it's like, man, they're already big. That's nuts.
Wow.
That doesn't feel right.
It's not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be feeling great about that.
Cliff Kingsbury stinks.
Yeah. So look, I asked the question though. I did ask the question because that's the consensus, right? Cliff Kingsbury stinks. And I always ask the question, how much are these second half collapses Kingsbury and how much of it are Kyler Murray? Because the question was always asked, do you think Kingsbury has gotten the most out of Kyler Murray? And I think he has. Has he gotten like literally the most? Like, I've done all I can do. I can't do any more with this guy.
Yeah, it feels like it. Like Kyler Murray is always going to have some sort of like limitation, right? Just because he's not like, if you can't see over the line, like that's an issue. It's not like, I'm not like making fun of him. Russell Wilson has that problem too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Russell Wilson stinks at throwing the ball over the middle of the field because it's hard to see when you're 5'11", 6 foot over a bunch of dudes that are 6'3", 6'4" and moving. So I think there's always going to be a little bit of that to Kyler's game where he escapes the pocket a little bit early. But yeah, if you're Cliff, like I feel like Kyler Murray just kind of is what he is at this point, right? Like where's he going to get better? I just feel like he kind of, and he's a super talented player. Like he's really good. He's terrifying to go against, but he looked lost in that playoff game. Whether that's a Kyler issue or a Cliff issue, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Not that dialed into the Cardinals, but that marriage doesn't seem to be going well, and they're locked in for 6 years. So buckle up.
It feels super bad. You talk about room for you don't know where he can improve. It feels like Brandon Ayuk is the object of everyone, all of the veterans' desires at 49ers training camp. You got Fred Warner talking about he's going to challenge him. You wrote about Jimmy Ward saying Brandon Ayuk is having a great camp. What is it about Brandon Ayuk this early part of training camp that's got the vets talking?
He's good as hell, Damian.
Thank you, Kyle. You're the best in the business with that. Yes, thank you. You can read such analytical work over at NinersWire.com. And they're very short podcast over at Candlestick Chronicles, but they're
3 seconds long. Is Jimmy Garoppolo a dog? Nah. Next. We decided Jimmy
Chris
Garoppolo
Biederman will spend 25 minutes telling you what breed of dog Jimmy Garoppolo would be if he in fact was one, though. So it's a good balance.
It's definitely the smart guy and the like, I'm there for the comedic relief kind of podcast. But anyways, Brandon Ayuk, he's just, you could tell year one, he was super talented. And I don't know where you guys kind of stood, but for me coming out of his rookie year, it was like, wow, I think he's a better wide receiver than Debo. Like just a pure like wide receiver route running where he can affect the game. I think he's better than Debo. I don't think he's a better player than Debo, but from a pure wide receiver standpoint, I thought he was better. And then he gets out to such a slow start in 21 that I think that kind of colored the perception of him. But if you had asked me, I would have said he had like 400 receiving yards last year. He had 860 yards.
Thousands.
He was so good in the second half. Yeah. And like all of that was over the last 9 or 10 games. So I think a full season where he's locked in like this, and this level of play in camp was why he was in the doghouse to kind of begin with. He didn't hit camp this hard, and he obviously learned something and he changed something, and he's dominating. Jimmy Ward, who, Damian, like you said, he said in his press conference the other day that Brandon Ayuk is having the best camp out of anybody except for Nick Bosa, but that's because Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa. But for Jimmy Ward to say that, Jimmy Ward is one of the biggest trash talkers on the team. Jimmy Ward over the offseason was on podcasts like, I hope DK stays in Seattle. I'm going to crack his ass when he comes over the middle. Like, he will talk that trash. So for him to come out and say like Brandon Ayuk has beat me in every one-on-one, and that's hard to do. Jimmy Ward's a really good player in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And Shanahan said it today that Jimmy Ward is our best cover corner. That's meaningful. That means something. So I think Brandon Ayuk's gonna have a huge year.
You mentioned Jimmy Ward. You mentioned the way Brandon Ayuk has played, and it all got tied together earlier this week, along with Fred Warner, because they had the two scuffles in practice. And I don't know if it was said before that or afterwards, but Fred Warner was talking about, we're going after Ayuk because he's the truth, and we don't want no slip up. We don't want him having any lulls in the way he approaches the game. So we're gonna make sure we get it out of him. And when you have a guy like Fred Warner and a guy like Jimmy Ward setting the tone, not only, this is how I saw it, not only as like we're going to be this great defense, but we want to lift the level of play of our offense and our offensive players as well. I was so impressed. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, Kyle, but I was so impressed, and it brought a sense of calm and security that I have as a 49ers fan for what is going to happen this season, or like the way they're going to approach the season, seeing the leadership of Warner and Ward to be like, we're locked in. We know the task at hand. Let's get the job done.
Yeah, there's like an assuredness in the way they're going about camp. I mean, Fred Warner, that was early in camp. He said that he was trying to get under Brandon Ayuk's skin because he thinks that there's another level he can get to, and he's going to push him to that. And I think he got what he wanted out of Ayuk when Ayuk squared up with him the other day. Like people who were there said, people who were at camp were saying they were ready to box, like hands up, fists up, ready to go. So I think that's what Warner wanted. He wanted Ayuk to display that level of leadership. And the second scrap they got in, the one that led to the big brawl, was Brandon Ayuk getting into it because Fred Warner hit someone else. It's that level. It's such a hard thing to quantify because you can't, like, an intangible leadership quality. But if Ayuk is going to do that, and I think that says a lot about his mindset when it comes to like playing the game. And again, I can't quantify that, and maybe it means nothing, but I think it's a great sign that that's where the team is mentally, that it's like, hey, we're going to get these guys ready for this run that they're going to go on.
It does feel like, and I think I speak from I always preface this because Kenny is often referred to as Homer Capaway.
They don't listen. They need to be refer to me as a right Caraway. Because
Homer
Capaway?
Homer Capaway, yes, that's what he's.
I think he played third base for the White Sox in the early 1900s.
We got to
Homer
get the
Capaway
jersey.
steps to the plate.
Believable. But I'm more of a neutral party here, and reading the stuff from Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward, reading Niners Wire, listening to Candlestick Chronicles, man, I feel like this team really is kind of locked in. I thought and I know that's a dumb term, but I think you know what I mean by that. Like, I really hated the revenge tour stuff. I just thought that was so lame, and like, come on, like,
so dumb.
What are we doing? This feels like a hyper level of focus. And man, I'm super optimistic about the 49ers. Like, I really like the 49ers and the Raiders, but I think this 49ers team is, I love, like, as it stands right now, the direction they're going.
Yeah, they seem to be saying all the right things and hitting all the right notes. The biggest issue is like what's going on under center. Like, that's the question. And what's going on at center, but that's a whole other thing. I mean, that's if Trey Lance is good, and he might not be, I have no idea. But if he's good, yeah, this is a really good team, and I think they know that. And I think losing the way they did in the NFC Championship game last year, going on the run they did to end the year, where they were playing playoff games for the last like 7 weeks,
right? Yeah.
And getting into the playoffs by going to LA and beating the Rams in their building with a fourth quarter comeback, and then beating the Cowboys in their building, and then going and finding a way to win in Green Bay in the playoffs against the MVP. And then going down to the final minutes against the eventual Super Bowl champions, I think that was really good for this team mentally. Now, again, you got to go play well.
Mhm.
But if you're just measuring and you're hitting benchmarks and you're finding things that they're saying or reasons to be optimistic, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about them. But again, it all comes down to the play of number 5 for me.
For sure. Hey, Kyle, bear with me here as I spell this out. But
I'm locked.
but Debo signs on Sunday. We talk about it on Monday. And then you look at the way the contracts are set up with these guys. And I think just on the offensive end, it was like Debo, Kittle, Juszczyk, Trent Williams, Ayuk is like the Trey Lance is, 2025, 2026, something like that. Then you got Fred Warner on the other side, Jimmy Ward, Armstead. They're going to take care of Bosa. And I just looked around and we talked about at the beginning, we talked about how stacked this roster is, how good this roster is. And I was telling Damien, it took me back to where this thing started with Kyle and John. And I know we won a Super Bowl and all this other stuff, but I'm usually of the belief of give me the Mike Tomlin Steelers, where every year they got a shot. Some years are better than others. Some years they're real Super Bowl contenders. Some years they just find a way to get in the playoffs. But give me that. I'll take my chances. And damn it feels like they've gotten there. Starting from where they started, I think it was 2-14. And through all they don't Solomon Thomas and the misses in the first one, they can't draft early, Dante Pettis, all this other stuff. Look at this roster and look at what they've built from the ground up. They've done it.
Yeah, they've built a really, really good team. And I think they've done it. I don't want to say the right way because there's not a right way to do it, but I think the ideal way where you draft George Kittle, you draft Deebo Samuel, you put it together at running back, you trade a 3rd and a 5th for Trent Williams, and then you pay that left tackle, you draft Fred Warner. Like they've done a really, really nice job for the most part. Are they perfect? Like, no, by no means, but it's really hard to find holes on this roster. And again, you can talk about the offensive line or whatever, but they have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And I don't know if that'll really get recognized until the quarterback play matches that, just because that's kind of how the way things go. If you go look at like Pro Football Focus does like roster rankings, and it's like, this is just quarterback rankings. It's like Packers, Bills, Chiefs, and that's and they all just go in that order. And I think that the quarterback's kind of the rising tide that lifts all boats. So if Lance is good, I think that'll really get recognized, and they'll kind of get their flowers for building a team that frankly, like without Jimmy Garoppolo injuries, are probably in the playoffs 4 consecutive years here.
Yeah.
Anything surprising at camp so far, like a position battle or someone emerging, with the one team that maybe wasn't there that you thought would be there, or all kind of.
Spencer Burford is a 4th round rookie from UTSA, Texas San Antonio, and he's gotten all the first team reps at right guard. When they drafted him, I wrote about how like, oh yeah, they're getting ready to figure out their offensive line in the future, but he's probably not going to be a factor this year. And he's now running with the first team, and that's just what he's doing. It's like he's rotating in here and rotate. Like, no, he's the starting right guard right now, and there doesn't seem to be anyone pushing him. So that's a pretty significant surprise. And if he can play, the Niners don't need their guards to be elite. Would they like them to? Sure. But if they can just be average level players with Aaron Banks and the 2nd round pick from last year, and then Burford, the 4th round pick this year, that's a huge win for like a massive, massive win for them. And then they, like I said, they got to figure out their center spot, but that's the one that's really, really surprised me is Burford not only getting first team reps, but getting all of those first team reps.
Hey, Kyle, I was looking at like some power rankings, early power rankings of the NFL, and I saw the Seahawks down there at 32.
Is that it?
Oh,
You just want to do the drop?
No, that was it. Yeah, he actually cut the laugh short. The laugh usually goes on much longer, what actually makes the joke a little bit funnier because you think it's winding down and then it doesn't. It gets louder and like Kenny pops and. I
can't stand it. I can't. We're not even rivals with the Seahawks no more. It's done. It was just a moment in time.
I'm really interested to see how that goes. Like there's like always those weird things. Like the Niners and Cardinals always play each other tough, no matter who is playing what position. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the Seahawks. Like, is Drew Lock just going to light it up, or is Geno Smith just going to kind of light it up, and they're just going to be an annoyance? Like,
I think Geno will light it up for a game and a half.
Maybe. Like that's I could totally see one like week 2. Geno Smith goes like 13 of 21 for 280 yards and a couple touchdowns and a 17-16 win. It is weird. Speaking of bad teams, shout out to your A's hat, Kenny.
No, we're wearing an A's hat. Is
it because they're playing better than the Giants right now?
No, it's just wearing the hat. I mean, the Giants are depressing. A's are depressing. This Babe Ruth series is depressing. Like this just whatever. I'm watching Premier League soccer and Padres versus Dodgers.
It's the least consequential Babe Ruth series in such a long time.
They got that stupid little erector trophy.
You seem frustrated.
Damien, your thoughts?
Clayton Kershaw is going to the IL. One last just quick question. Deshaun Watson, 17 games. Jimmy Garoppolo, Cleveland?
Man, I think so. And I think that's why the Niners haven't let him go yet, is because they're waiting on that. Because I think Cleveland has said, like, hey, we'll take him if this goes more than X amount of games. So if it's a season, I think that they'd send to that conditional 5th in 2024, whatever they got for Baker, and call it good.
Kyle Madson, 95.7 The Game, Niners Wire, Candlestick Chronicles, anything involving the San Francisco 49ers, whether it's podcasting, radio, or writing, Kyle does it all.